Welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, the podcast where nostalgia comes alive. Since July of 2021, Jake and his friends have interviewed professionals in the worlds of acting, directing, writing, puppeteering, and many more. Who will they be chatting with in this week's interview? Find out in this Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. I am one of your co-hosts, Chris Bixby, and with me today, as always, our other co-host, Matt Bingel, and our host, Jake Deffinbaugh. How are you guys?
Great. How about you?
Good. How you
Very,
doing?
very good. Very good.
Good to hear.
Awesome. Who do we have?
Who do we have? Well, I'm glad you asked. We're very excited about today's interview. He is an actor who a lot of you will remember as one of the cast members in the third season of the 1999 revival of the PBS Kids series Zoom. Today we'll be talking about that as well as some of the things he's done as an actor. And here he is, Eric Rollins. Eric, how are you?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you doing?
Good.
Great. How about
Doing
you?
great. How about
Happy
you?
to be here.
Doing great. Doing wonderful.
Nice,
Thanks for
awesome.
having me, guys.
Yeah,
My
of
pleasure.
course. Definitely our pleasure. So to start this off, we know who you are, but for those who don't, would you care to kind of introduce yourself?
I'm sure. I think you guys did a pretty good job already. I'm an actor, producer, writer, director from Boston. My biggest things that I think that you guys probably know me from is Zoom on PBS back in 2001. I was on season 3. Since then, you've probably seen a bunch of commercials and some shows here and there and some other movies.
Nice, really nice.
Nice. Awesome. Can you talk about your background and how you grew up?
Sure. Grew up just outside of Boston. I remember I always kind of had a thing for theater. I remember in preschool we used to have these for Christmas they used to have a holiday play, and I think the first time I was in the first year of school, I got to be Santa Claus, which kind of got the acting bug, sort of bit me.
Oh wow.
And then
Nice.
yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a picture of me and another kid. Like the preschool had this big loft, so we're up there as Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus. It was pretty fun. And then kind of during school, as during elementary school, I really liked kind of performing. And one of my third grade teachers used to always put on a series of anthology plays. So we'd read an anthology, all the different stories in it, and then at the end of the year, we would basically make our own costume. We'd put on a play from some of the stories that were in the book. So that was great. And then that teacher, Ms. Reck, she actually got me into a summer theater program, which is really
Nice.
cool.
Awesome.
And kind of did that for about 4 or 5 years. And then tried it out and did not get it the first time and went back the second year, and the rest is history.
Oh, really nice, really nice. And
Awesome.
I'm also from Massachusetts as well. I still live in Massachusetts,
Oh, that's great. What part?
Cape Cod.
Oh, very nice. Awesome. I love
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Getting into the acting field, who are some of your inspirations?
My inspirations, I had a lot. When I was a kid, I loved watching all that. So like
Oh,
Keenan and
yeah.
Kel.
Yeah.
Keenan and Kel
Definitely.
were, oh my God, they were my favorite. And I was very, very when I moved to LA, I've been in LA for about 12 years, almost 12 years. I got to meet Kel at an event, which
Oh my
was
gosh.
insane. So I was
Wow.
like, oh my God, like you're one of the reasons that I'm into that.
Wow.
All that was fantastic. I love Dick Denzel, love Meryl Streep. There's just a lot of great work that's out there that kind of has influenced where I wanted to be.
Nice. Yeah. Oh,
Nice.
I also, all that's an amazing show.
Absolutely.
Keenan and Kel are amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you remember the first project you acted in?
Like professionally or just like
Yeah.
period?
Yeah,
In general.
or just in general, yeah.
Yeah.
So the first professional job was Zoom,
Mm.
which was a blast. And I think the very first time I was performing was probably going to be like the holiday show when I was in preschool and I was playing Santa Claus. But then kind of regularly with the summer theater program that I did when I was in elementary school and middle school, which was a blast. Every summer it was a group of kids from kind of all over. And I can't remember off the top of my head. I think some years we would kind of build a show, and other years we would have a play that we would do. And so, we'd spend a couple months almost every day working on characters. We built our own sets. I think we made our costumes. And then at the end of the summer camp, we put on a show.
Awesome.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So, how did you first become a cast member on Zoom? How did that all come about for you?
Yeah, so that was through auditioning. When I was doing our theater program, it was out of the all-purpose room at the elementary school that I went to, and we had a new assistant principal who was starting in the following school year. She had stopped in while she was in the building and saw the show and saw the camp, and I remember that she had told my mother she had seen a flyer, an advertisement to audition for Zoom. It was like, he needs to do this. So the first year we went out and we auditioned and got a couple of callbacks, which was really cool. Didn't get the show, which was fine. Didn't know what it was because it was just coming back, but it was fun. Forgot about it, moved on. And then the next year, my mom saw a thing in the paper again. She's like, "Hey, do you want to go try this again?" And I said, "Sure." And from there, we went back in, had big auditions, and then kept getting callbacks. And callbacks got closer and closer until eventually I booked.
That's
Nice.
awesome. So, and now an interesting question. So I saw this was later on in the show, like after you were on Zoom, but I was wondering. So I saw this like behind the scenes special where before actually getting to film the show, they did something called a Camp Zoom, which was which was just like seeing how well the kids would work together. Did you have to do that?
Oh, absolutely. I think we did that for every season. And it was less about seeing if we could work together and more about us getting to know each other and learning how to work together.
Okay.
During the audition process, we had a bunch of they're called chemistry reads, basically, where they would bring a bunch of kids in and we'd have do different things in the auditioning room. After we got hired, we had a whole kind of training thing because a lot of us, the whole point of it is that we weren't at the time working professional actors. So we had to learn what it's like to be on set, how to deal with the camera and all that stuff, as well as how do we get, because the whole point of the show is that we get to do your experiments. We're reading your letters, doing your jokes. So how do we do all that and learn? So over our spring break, because we shot during the summer, so spring break before that, we all went away, I think for like 2 or 3 days to a kind of a campground area where we stayed overnight for a couple days, and every day we would do different like trust exercises and team building exercises. And on our last day, we actually the cast, all the kids, we had to cook breakfast, and the whole crew came to the camp, so we had to make breakfast for everybody. So it was really cool because we got to like meet everybody before we had to work with them, and it was just a really just great introduction. Great, it made things very safe, very comfortable. So that way, when we got on set and we're like, "Oh my god, like all these lights, cameras, everything here," it became so much more fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it just was a fun time.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, a great show. I grew up watching Zoom.
Fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now, did you know about Zoom at all beforehand?
I did not. So until the assistant principal had brought it up to us, I did not know. My mom did. My mom, my family's all from Massachusetts, so she had known about it back in the 70s, but I didn't.
Nice.
Not a clue. And I think that just helped everything because then I didn't go in with any expectations. It just was go in, play, be yourself, and that's it. I don't have to worry about matching anything or trying to be something that I'm not, which I think is also what they want for the show.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So what was it like meeting the other cast members and the crew for the first time?
It was great. So the cool thing about the show is every year from season to season, they keep 2 cast members. So there's 7 of us. They always keep 2 moving forward, so that we kind of, for you guys that are watching, you have familiar faces. What was nice for us is that they had some people who were like, oh, here's the ropes. So Kenny and Caroline stayed over from the year before. But getting to meet everyone was cool. Everyone was so much fun. Everyone was so cool. Getting to do all the trust exercises and the team building things at Camp Zoom was great, because we kind of got to figure out, where each of our strengths lie, what can we help each other with. And luckily, like, everyone was really cool with each other. We had a lot of similar senses of humor. It was a lot of fun, and I think we all connected. We all clicked pretty quickly.
Definitely, yeah. You guys definitely seemed like you had like amazing chemistry on that show.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Sure.
So now here's an interesting question. It may even be hard to answer, but do you have a favorite Zoom segment that you did? Like, it could be from like Cafe Zoom or Zoom Playhouse or Zoom Sci or any of those.
It's really, that's a really hard question. It's a good question. I think that there were so many cool parts of all the different segments. It's kind of hard to nail down. Like, I love doing the one thing. The way we shot, we would do like a day of all games, or like an afternoon of games, or all day science stuff. So we kind of had really focused days of each segment. I want to say off the top of my head, like, the games were always really fun. Kenny actually lived down the street from me when we were filming, so we used to carpool with a couple other people as well. And so we were all really competitive. So if you ever watch the show, like, we're never on the same team during the games, but we're always competing like head to head. So you can always see us like kind of eyeing each other and like trying to one up each other, which is all in good fun. So that was probably one of my favorite things. But also the science stuff. The science was really cool. We got to build the Rube Goldberg machine.
Oh yeah,
which was like, that whole thing was absolutely incredible. We built most of it on camera. There's some stuff that we had worked on like between, but that was really cool just to kind of try and fail at some things and try and succeed at others.
Yeah, actually, before we did the interview, the 3 of us we actually watched the first episode from your season.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most of them are on YouTube, which is cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 Fun watching that.
So there's an interesting question. The language of Abby was popularized during Zoom. Was it challenging at all having to learn Abby?
Not really. I think that when you hear it for the first time and you don't know like what the catch of it is, it's kind of like, wait, what's going on? But once you kind of learn it, I believe our scripts were written in Abby, so it was great. You can kind of just see it all written out, and it became a lot easier. It's interesting. Every once in a while, I'll run into someone who it's like, oh my god, I watched the show, and I still know Abby, and they'll speak it. I'm like, that's great. It's very kind of heartwarming to see that like it still holds up.
Yeah.
But no, it wasn't too hard to learn. I think every once in a while, if you try to like speak too fast, I tend to speak really fast, so I get caught up on my tongue a lot. So speaking of Abby, you'll get caught up. You're like, oh wait, no, that's the wrong one. Hang on.
Yeah, I remember speaking of UBW, you did a couple of the UBW raps too, yeah.
Yeah, we did do a couple of those. I think, because Kenny and Ray had started those the year before. Yeah, those are pretty fun.
Yeah, I feel like I might know the answer to this, but do you remember like the lyrics to any of the raps?
I do not.
I've kind of figured.
I did. Unfortunately, I do not.
Now remember, Chris, it's been over 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it like filming the opening?
The opening was a blast. We shot it. I think we shot it over the course of like a few days in Boston. We were all over the place. And what was really cool is outside of the stuff in the studio when we're dancing and going behind the letters where kind of like a little locker room is, it was just really cool being out and about in the city. So everyone kind of comes from the different spots and runs in. I just remember getting really, because from my part of the opening, I'm getting and I get to run out, like, oh my god, whole school bus for me. This is insane. And fun fact, you can actually was sitting on the bus, which you can't see, but where Kenny's playing chess and then runs up, the kid with his back turned to the camera is my younger brother.
Oh wow. Oh, that's
Mhm.
cool. Yeah. Although there's Zoom fans tuning in, that's a cool fact for you guys to add to the Zoom wiki or one of those places. Um, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, they're gonna have a fun
But,
time.
it was a great kind of time. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's gonna be a fun time editing that. Editing the wiki.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. It's also maybe a tough question for you, but do you have any funny or interesting behind the scenes stories from your time on Zoom?
Oh, I mean, like we had a blast the whole time. I remember, so for part of it, because we're all lived all over New England. I think like Rachel and Francis lived in Boston. Buzz, I believe, lived either a little bit north or a little bit west. I was living south of Boston. Kenny lived south of Boston. Caroline lived south of Boston, and Kaylee's from New Hampshire, but was staying south of Boston. So the four of us would ride up a lot together.
Oh wow.
Carpool, which was great. But like just kind of spending all of that time together. I remember that I think we had all created we had like a secret holiday that we had made up because like someone mispronounced something, and we're like, oh, like this is great. So it was like once a week we'd have this like little like holiday that we would like no gifts or anything, but it would just be like, oh, look what I found, like this is for like Happy Fish Nickel Day or whatever it was, and it was great. Really good stuff like that. A lot of the time, which was really cool, between shooting, we had our green room that we were in, and the green room was great because we just got to like hang out and chill. We had whole like beanbag chairs. We could like make little arts and crafts. So a lot of time we kind of just got to hang out and just chill, which is that I think was maybe not as interesting, but definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it was definitely a lot of fun.
Sure.
So I'm kind of wondering, do you still keep in touch with anyone from Zoom?
Yeah. Mostly through social media right now. But so right now Kenny is in LA, so I see him every now and again. There's when our schedules line up. Pablo from season 1 used to live in LA. He's back in Boston now, so I used to see him every now and again. Outside of that, I don't have very many people that are out here. Frances used to live out here for a minute. I think she's in Atlanta now. And then everybody else is either like Boston or New York. So again, mostly social media. But we did have a Zoom reunion, I think in 2020. So like just in the first year of COVID. So
Yeah,
there was
that's right. I saw that.
reunion for
Yeah.
that, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun to see everyone kind of remotely again.
Yeah, definitely. It would be cool. It would be cool if there was like a special, like a Zoom reunion special,
Ooh,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
on
Hey.
GBH, like everyone together.
You said
Yeah.
it. If I will answer the call if it's come. So
Yeah, or like even have well, I know they did a reunion this year with the 70s
Yeah,
Zoom cast. They
Yeah.
did do that. So maybe they could do like a 2-part special. Like part 1 could be the 70s Zoom people and part 2 could be the 90s Zoom people.
Yeah, that'd be
listen,
I like that.
amazing.
I would 100% be down for that. What was really cool during the first part of COVID when we had like a few little Zoom, we had like reunions, but we did kind of little mini specials for online. And I think it's all still on the GBH Instagram and whatnot. That was really cool because we had some of the people from the 70s and from the second round from the 90s and 2000s. We had a few like talkbacks and things like that. So it was really cool to get to meet all of them that were able to participate. So I would 100% be down to do that again.
Nice, awesome.
That would be cool. I would
That's awesome.
definitely love to see that.
That'd be great.
Man, we're coming up with a bunch of ideas for people on the show, aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, we did with
Just make
Francois
sure you
Clement
negotiate
before.
for producer credit.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, definitely,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah. Do you have any Zoom memorabilia or anything from your Zoom days with you that you like to show or you can tell?
Well, right now we literally just moved into a house this weekend, so most of my stuff's packed up. Um, but I do have like, I mean, I've got my shirts. I got a few of my shirts still, which are great because they still fit, which is weird.
Nice.
And then I think at my mother's house we have like there's like some vinyl records from like the '70s Zoom, and
Oh,
there's
wow.
some like paper
Huh.
postcards
Wow.
and stuff like that. So I've got a
Oh,
couple things
nice.
that are floating around. Yeah, I used to have my shoes, and I kept my shoes for a long time, and they all still fit. But then it got to a point where I was like, I'm not wearing them out. So
Yeah.
I think they either got packed up in storage somewhere or got donated. I'm not sure.
Do you still have the orange shirt that you wore in your season?
I had that for a long time, and I don't know where it is now. I
Ah,
kind of miss it though. I think it's either sitting in storage somewhere or it's at my mother's house. But
I know.
I did have it for a long time, and I used to wear it every now and again too.
Yeah, I know because you mentioned the videos you guys did on GBH's YouTube channel. I saw that Kaylee has her shirt, her outfit,
Hmm.
which is cool.
Yeah, she still has hers, which is crazy. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it's somewhere back east. Um, I wish I still had it to wear. It was awesome. It was incredibly comfortable.
So do you think a Zoom revival or a series like Zoom would work nowadays?
I remember talking about this with like Pablo and Kenny a while ago. I think that it would, but I don't exactly know how it would kind of formulate because I think what was really cool and was really special about Zoom is at the time, both in the '70s and wasn't always a lot of content that was for kids, right? There wasn't a lot
Definitely.
of programming that allowed kids to see other kids, interact with other kids in some form, and just let them be, right? It
Mhm.
was almost like, hey, there's someone who looks like me, there's someone who sounds like me, there's someone who thinks like me, and it's not an adult telling me what to do and like, oh, they're doing this cool stuff or they're doing this thing that I sent in. I think to do it now would be a little bit more difficult just because we have so much social media, right? Everyone's got a TikTok, everyone's got an Instagram, and everyone's got their channels, and they're all showing us the cool things that they can do, the things that they've explored, showing us how funny they are. So I feel like Zoom, in a way, is doing the same thing that some like the TikTok and the Instagram social media are doing. So
Mhm.
to do that again, I think it would have to kind of change its format a little bit because I feel like we
Yeah.
have so much access to seeing people our own age and like learning and exploring where it's not someone that's older than us telling us what to do. That I feel like it would be an interesting concept. I just don't know how it would get pulled off.
I think to incorporate the kind of social media aspect, I think making like a Zoomified social media platform would be cool. Like instead of Instagram, call it like Zoomagram or something like that. I think that would be a neat idea.
Zoom
Oh
for it.
yeah,
I like it.
It sounds
so
kind
that's
of
the thing, right?
it sounds kind of tacky, but I think it would work. I think it would
It's got
definitely
a
catch on.
it's got a nice ring to it, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zoomagram.
Well, because I mean, if you think about it, right, the cool thing about Zoom was as a kid, you would write your letter in, and literally everything that we did were submissions from kids, from viewers like you, which was really really cool. So they write stuff in. Hey, this is a cool experiment. We would then do it, and then if we want to hear from you, so get letters back. I guess now it would be like, hey, we'd do like a TikTok or a live stream or a Twitch or whatever, and get ideas from folks to do that, and then actually be able to interact with people immediately.
Right.
Hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah. Zoomagram. Interesting. I like it.
Yeah.
Get it?
Aside from Zoom, you've done some other on-screen work as an actor. Do you have a favorite acting project you've worked on?
I mean, they're all really great and they're all a lot of fun. Probably like my last few have been kind of, they're just the ones in recent memory right now that I think have been really cool. I just finished a short film about a werewolf who is trying not to turn and walks into a surprise birthday party for him.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's
So,
awesome.
comes home, girlfriend's like, happy birthday. And he's like, oh, no one knows this yet. Crap. So he has to deal with that, which was an absolute blast. The team that put it together was great. So I can't wait to see how that comes out. So that was a lot of fun. And then I just saw the cut of another kind of horror comedy-esque thing that I just did for another group of awesome people where it's like a seance gone wrong. And that was, again, working with great people, and the project came out fantastic. So hopefully we'll see that soon. So yeah, it's kind of like every last project is my new favorite because, again, I just get to do more cool stuff, meet more cool people.
Yeah, and explore new opportunities.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure. Do you have any funny or interesting behind the scenes stories from your acting work?
Yeah, it's a few different things. There's a commercial that I'm doing right now that's out for Geico,
wow.
which
Nice.
is a lot of fun, really cool. In it, I get to work with a wolf, and not CGI, not shot in different places. Like, legitimately get to hang out with a wolf for a little bit of it. And for
Wow.
that, I got to, it was pretty cool. So I had to have a day where I had to meet the wolves. So before we even started shooting, I had to go meet the wolves, meet the trainers. Basically, are the wolves going to be cool with me? And am I not going to freak out? And that was a blast. So I go up to this rescue place where they live, and these, I mean, they're huge, sick. I'm 6 feet tall, and like the head, comes up to like my midsection when they're standing up. And the first one that I met, this guy, the wolf named Flynn, comes up immediately, like right onto my chest. Coolest thing that I've ever seen. And then I met another wolf, I forget that one's name, but as we're training and practicing the moves, that he would pee on me,
Oh,
which
oh my
I was
goodness.
told that is an honor. So I was like, I will accept that, and I will change my clothes later.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh my goodness.
Nice.
Oh boy. So, besides TV and film, you've also done some theater acting. What has that experience been like?
Yeah, theater. Honestly, theater is kind of my first love. That's where I've done most of my work. Theater acting is great. You get to really live in a character. You get to really just kind of hone and build, and then you've got a month run, and every night you get to find. In film, you work really hard. You go in, you do your scenes, and then you're done. So a few hours in each moment. Where with theater, you get a lot of, it's kind of great because you get instant gratification. You get to be right with the audience, you see what works, you see what doesn't work. You can change in on the fly and adjust things. So theater is definitely a lot more, not a lot more. It's a different form of engagement, a different form of work and exercise. And it's been a minute since I've been on stage, but I'm hoping to get back on soon.
Awesome.
Nice.
Very nice.
Great.
Now, how does it feel that theater acting in Broadway has started opening up again?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I lost you for a second.
Oh, no. Oh,
Oh
no.
boy.
All right, we're back.
I get it. Point 3.
Yeah,
We're
that's
good.
point. So, how does it feel that theater acting in Broadway has started opening up again?
I feel like it's great. Um, I know that like for me, I get a little nervous about the COVID of it all and whatnot, but I think that all the regulations, like people trying to really be safe and being conscious. I think it's great to finally be able to get back into a space and see live work and get to kind of experience that again because I think it's a very cathartic experience to go see a show. Uh,
Definitely.
Full of shows since things have started opening back up, and it just feels so different. It feels so good to kind of be connecting with people again, to be part of the community again. Um, like I said, as long as everyone's being respectful and everyone is trying to make sure that they're taking care of each other when you're going to the show, and then I think it's great. And I can't wait to get back to a full sense of normalcy and just see more work.
Yeah, because even though we're not fully out of the pandemic, we definitely are getting there. A lot of progress has definitely been made. A lot of progress.
Absolutely.
For sure. Overall, do you prefer TV and film acting or theater acting more?
In my head, I would probably lean more to theater. Excuse me. I think that theater acting is a lot. Again, it's different because you're working different muscle groups. In theater, you're fully engaged. You have to go. You're doing the whole show. Sometimes eight shows a week. So you're constantly engaged. You're just constantly working. I think with TV and film, you work a little bit differently. Everything gets a little bit smaller. Everything's a little bit more intimate. So I think that there's benefits to both. Honestly, I think I would probably lean more to theater because I think it's got that instant gratification. Like you're in there with the audience, you see everything that happens.
Mm-hmm.
You see that you feel it. There's a little more electricity in the moment when you're performing. But I guess if I had to choose, I would say theater, but I wouldn't really give up any of it if I didn't have to.
Definitely. So we've talked a lot about your work in the past. Can you other than the one you just mentioned, can you share any projects you're working on now?
So outside of the couple of shorts that I'm waiting on to get released, which will be really fun, handful of commercials that are going on right now. I guess like a Geico spot, a couple other spots that have been running, and started working on writing some of my own stuff, which will be really cool. Still kind of like in the planning stages, so nothing concrete yet, and just kind of figuring out what's going to be next. Trying
to trying to see what's next in store.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It's great. Like I think that when everything kind of closed down, you got everyone being stuck at home. One of the positive things that come out of that are kind of a way to like reevaluate. Oh, like this is what I've been doing. What do I really want to do? How do I make those adjustments? So I've been doing a lot of thinking on that and trying to kind of adjust things and create new paths forward.
Really nice. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So as an actor, what challenges would you say you faced during your career?
Oh, I mean, there's so many challenges. I feel like the world, the business of it all now is so much different than it used to be before. There's a lot more competition, which is fantastic. Because now especially with the pandemic, we have this huge rise of self-tape. So you can be anywhere in the country and submit for things. Whereas before you would have to be in the city where they're casting, so in LA, in New York, in Atlanta, and you have to be able to go to the office, audition there. Now it's like you can be out and still get work, which is great. So there's a lot more competition, which I think is exciting, makes everyone kind of step their game up a little bit more, which is great. So just kind of, the rising tide lifts all boats. And then I think, the biggest thing is always kind of working on your self-critic, right? Being an actor, the bulk of your work is being told no. You go to an audition, you don't hear anything back. You'll get a call back, you don't hear anything back. You get submitted for stuff, they don't call you in. So it's always about making sure that that the work you're doing is good and working on constantly improving, constantly learning. It's just like going to the gym. So I think the biggest challenge always ends up being the emotional part of it, of being able to let go and be like, okay, cool. This one wasn't meant for me. The one that is right will come to me.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. What piece of advice would you give to anyone who wants to get into acting?
You have to really want it. Like, if you can imagine yourself doing anything else, if the thought of doing accounting, or you would rather play golf than read a script, or go ride your bike, not go ride your bike, but if you would rather do anything else,
Mm-hmm.
then don't bother. This is, I think, being an actor is a crazy passion that you have to be fully in for. And it doesn't mean that like every day you're like, yes, I need to act, because there are days where I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to do a single thing today. But I think knowing that an acting career is essentially a long string of short-term gigs, that you have to know that this is what you want to do and this is like what you're committed to doing, because it's going to be a lot of hard work with not a lot of payoff sometimes, and sometimes it's going to be great payoff, and you've got to be prepared for both ends of that. The other big thing is kind of making sure that you're always being fiscally responsible. You know, move to LA, make sure you got a roof over your head, make sure your bills are paid, and then make sure that you can really dedicate your time and energy to building your career.
Definitely. And I guess I'll turn it around and ask, what's the best piece of advice that you've received as an actor?
Letting go. I had a friend of mine, this is years ago. We were on a panel of actors talking to a college class. And one of the things that I've started doing with myself now is every time that he left an audition, because you go in with sides, so like, you know, your lines on a piece of paper. Every time he left an audition, he would throw his sides away. And I never used to do that. I always used to like go home with my sides and like look it back over, and I would stress out like, oh, I should have said this way. I should have done this way. I should have done this. Oh, I messed up that line. And yeah, I think the best piece of advice is just throw it away, because once you're out of the room, it's out of your hands anymore. You can't go back in. You can't redo it. And once you, like, the physical act of actually throwing away those sides or leaving them on the table when you leave the room, it's absolutely liberating. You kind of just like, oh, okay, cool. Now I'm gonna go get a coffee or meet up with a friend or whatever else you're gonna do, and life moves on. And it's just very freeing and very liberating. It's great.
Definitely. So, what would you like to say to the fans and supporters of your work and of Zoom?
Thank you. Is the biggest thing. I have been very fortunate that every few years, every once in a while, like even now, I'll still have people who are like, "Wait, I think I know you," and it's so appreciated. And I just thank you guys all for your support. I'm glad that as a show and as a cast, we were able to be there for people in hard times. Because I know that, you know, we did the 9/11 special, season 3, right. And we've had a lot of great feedback from that. I've had messages that have come in from people who were just saying they were very shy or insecure, and thank you for, you know, we helped them to come out of their shell. And I feel really grateful to be able to be a part of that. So thanks for your support. Keep watching. You know, I'd love to hear all that stuff. And yeah, just thank you.
Yeah, and I know
You're welcome.
I know throughout Zoom's run, it was also nominated for a few Emmys.
Yeah,
as well.
That is true. That is very true. We're very, very honored to get a lot of those nominations.
Yes, and still to this day to have such a big following.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, it constantly surprises me when, like, we'll be out in public and someone's like, "Oh, you're this," and then like people like, they always have some story about either, you know, some whether it's a Zoom do or a cafe Zoom or a game or a Zoom chat. that like stuck out to them, and that it still is with them this many years later is it's so touching.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely is.
So if people would like to contact you, where can people find you?
Social media is great. I'm not the most tech savvy, but I'm learning. So I've got Instagram is at the Eric Rollins. I think there's a Facebook fan page as well. Twitter at the Eric Rollins, if Twitter's still alive. And then there is a TikTok, which is the same, but I'm not on that as often.
Okay.
All right,
Definitely,
and
and
social media
links.
description down below.
Yeah, links to that will be in the
Perfect.
description for all
Yep.
the people tuning
For
in.
everybody.
So we're about to wrap. So we're about to wrap up. So Jake, why don't you kind of ask the last question?
Yeah, so of course, this podcast is called Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. When you think of nostalgia, what do you think of, or how would you find the word nostalgia?
Just the word nostalgia?
Or like
mean-
what does nostalgia mean to you?
Oh, okay. Yeah. It sends me back to that time in your life where nothing seemed like it could go wrong. I think that's different for everybody. I think for the most part, it's, we talk about nostalgia and it's like, oh my God, back when I was a kid and then all this cool stuff. And, we used to wear this, we used to do that, we used to eat that. And to me, it's like, all of that is true. Like I remember just like running around as a kid and it's like the lights come on, I go home and, because you got to go eat or whatever. But to me, it's always that safe space where you could explore and risk it all and you were still safe. Because I look back, like whenever I think of like, oh man, like I missed this one thing, it always comes back to like the time in your life where the music was great, your friends were so cool. Oh my God, we fell out of a tree and like so and so like broke their arm or whatever, but like it was so much fun. It just absolutely just carefree, risk-free. That's what it means to me.
For sure, yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
And of course, Zoom. I mean, Zoom's definitely nostalgic
Yeah.
as well. Of course.
As always.
Absolutely.
Of course. Well, Eric, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. It has been a blast.
Thank you so much. I'm glad.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yes, you're very welcome. I'm glad for what you've done, be a part of our childhood. So Zoom, of course, and keep up the good work and see what's next for you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. You guys too. Keep going. How many episodes do you guys have so far?
Thank you.
This is episode number 80.
80?
Yep.
80.
80.
Yep.
Oh,
Mhm.
all right.
Oh.
We'll get at least 80 more.
And we started doing it in
Hopefully.
July of last year, and so we were doing this for a little over a year.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
All right.
I joined the show in January.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah.
So
It's been a crazy run, I'll tell you.
yes.
And I guess on that note, folks, I do want to say this is our last interview for this year that we're airing. Been a hell of a year. I'm gonna be honest. It really has been a hell of a year. Over
100 episodes.
over 60 guests we've had on this year. I personally just want to say, I personally
doesn't
just
feel
wanna
like
say,
it.
and it really doesn't. I just want to say to both you, Jakey, and Chris, it's hard to believe I've been a part of this almost a year.
I know.
It's been a crazy, crazy year. As I said, this is our last interview we are airing this year. Next week, we have a very special holiday episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. Do not miss it. It's going to be a ton of fun. And then the week after, we have our best of special for the year. Our next interview won't air till mid-January of 2023.
Yep.
23.
Yep.
And it's gonna be here before we know it. If you folks are not joining us, happy holidays to you. Have an awesome holiday season. We'll be back with new interviews in January. We've got some fun stuff ahead for the rest of the year. And just want to say I have a Pepsi here. We are not endorsed or sponsored by Pepsi in any way, shape, or form, but I have it right here. But I figured I'd have one. Cheers to all of you. Thank you for your continued support this year. Been an incredible year. And thank you to all the guests we've had on this year. It's been amazing. Got some fun holiday stuff. Again, Eric, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, folks, for joining us. Really all this year. It's been amazing.
Thank you again, Eric.
Yes.
It's been
Thank you for having me.
It's been an incredible year. Big special thanks also to our manager Kieran and DJ Bob and everybody else behind the scenes who's really helped us out this year. And thank you all so much for your continued support. We look forward for more interviews in 2023. We got a ton of great ones coming up, and always remember, keep nostalgia alive. So long, folks.
Yes, so long. Thank you for tuning in to another wonderful Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show interview. Be sure to follow Jake and the crew on social media and stream the show wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And as always, remember to keep nostalgia alive. Bye-bye.